Hey guys, so today we're checking out the Z Automotive Tazer JL Mini fitting all 2018 and newer JL Wranglers. So if you are looking to completely customize your Wrangler's PCM and unlock all of the potential that it has to offer, then this option is going to be a great choice to take a look into. Now this programmer is going to allow you to completely customize all of the features that your JL has to offer that will directly affect your performance, your lighting, and even some creature comforts when you're sitting inside your JL, whether you're just driving around on the street or you're taking it off-road a bunch. Now this is going to be great for anybody who is looking to customize all of those features, and for anybody who is going off-road and is really looking to take advantage of all of the live functions that this has to offer that I'll explain in just a second. Now this is going to have a laundry list of different features, including being able to change really any and all parameters inside the PCM, including your tire size, your gear ratio, and multiple other parameters, including your lighting, your daytime running lights, and just a laundry list of different features that I'll go through in just a second. And you'll be able to access all of that through the JL itself. So once you plug this in, we'll be able to flip through the steering wheel controls and completely change everything on the splash screen as well as the navigation unit. Now this is also going to have a number of different live features. So there are features that you can change and keep permanently changed in the JL and have them married to the JL. And then there are live functions that will help you out when you're going off-road. So if you do take your JL off-road a lot, there are winch functions in here where you'll be able to control your winch specifically from the cab area of the JL with your steering wheel controls. There will be cool down modes, so after you're done on the trail and you want to turn on all of your cooling accessories inside your Wrangler to make sure that you're running very efficiently, this will allow you to do this. And you're also going to have rock crawl modes to help you out. You'll be able to control your braking systems while you are off-road as well. So if you're looking for a programmer that's going to allow you to not only have live functions, but change all the necessary features that you need to and kind of customize it to your liking, then this is going to be right up your alley. Now this is going to be a very small and low profile device. It's going to be out of the way, very sleek and unnoticeable for somebody who doesn't want a big tuner or a big programmer in front of their face all the time, or is not looking for something that they have to constantly plug in and out and change on a device itself. This will be able to stay in, like I said, or you could take it out and use it in conjunction with another tuner, considering that some of the features will be able to marry to the vehicle already. So overall, this is going to be great for anybody who's really looking to take advantage of all the options that the JL has to offer, even from the factory. Now with all of that being said, this is going to come in at roughly $350, and personally, in my opinion, I think that that is a great price point for what you're getting out of this device. Now again, this is going to have a laundry list of different features. I didn't do it justice talking about just a couple of them, and I'll show you guys a lot of them in just a second when we get over to the JL. But this is going to have a lot more features and be a lot more customizable than a lot of the other programmers in the category. Now some of their options, like I said, are going to be able to change some parameters, but those are going to usually have a actual device that you'll be able to flip through as to where you can directly control all of the features on this, on your steering wheel controls, on your navigation unit, and your display screen on your cluster. And then some other options that are a little bit more expensive than this are usually going to be for those big tuner options, or the bigger or larger programmers that'll be touchscreen. You'll have a full display, you'll be able to see your gauges and whatnot. So those are usually going to be a little bit more expensive because you are getting a little bit more with that. But again, if you're looking for something that's the middle of the road, low profile, sleek, and highly customizable, then this is going to be a great choice to take a look into. Now, as far as install is concerned, I'm going to give this a very easy 1 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter. No tools required. Again, this is a plug and play device, so all we have to do is plug it in and flip through all of the features, change them up. It's going to take you about 15 minutes to actually get this installed. However, it may take you a little bit longer trying to set up all of those customized features to your liking. So speaking of the install, let's jump into that now. So before we go ahead and install this, I would just recommend that you have the most up-to-date version of the software on the device. And you can check this by using the USB cable that was included in the kit. You can plug this into your PC or your Mac and download the Z Automotive software in order to check that, and you can update that through the app as well. But once that is finished, then we can plug this in. Now this is going to plug into the SWG cable, which is directly above the OBD2. Now this is going to be very difficult to see because it is a little bit higher up in the dash than the OBD2. However, it is directly above there. There are two cables that we need to unplug, and you can see on the back that this is going to plug in place of that. So what do you say we head underneath the dash and go ahead and do that? So right above our OBD2 diagnostic port, there's going to be two cables. So all we have to do is press down on the tab and unplug them. Now I've already unplugged them, but this is what we're going to be plugging the Taser into. There's a larger one and a smaller one, so we're just going to line this up and plug that on in. So once this is plugged in, you don't necessarily have to take this off. It's recommended by Z Automotive that you keep this installed unless you're taking it to a dealer and you'd like to uninstall this. If you are not looking to use the live functions, you can unplug this, but you will need to plug these two cables back into place if you do take this programmer out. However, again, it is recommended that you keep this installed. There's really no reason why you should take it off once it's installed, but what we can do at this point is just tuck it up out of the way. The cables are short, so you don't necessarily need a zip tie, but if you want to make sure that it's stable, you can do that. And then once it's tucked up and out of the way, we can go through our features. So now that the Taser Mini is installed, what we can do is marry it to the vehicle, and we can also go through all of the features. So in order to do this, we need the ignition on. Right now I have the accessory on. So make sure that it's in run, but the vehicle itself is not turned on. So once we're at this screen, what we need to do is flip to the audio setting. So if you just press down on your steering wheel control, we'll be able to flip to audio. So once we're here, what we need to do in order to access the menu is press down on the left arrow, and then we need to tap the cancel button on the cruise. Then it's going to pop up light show. So we have accessed the menu now. So what we need to do in order to flip through is hold down on the left button, and then we can flip through with the cancel on the cruise control. That's going to show our display trouble codes, the clear CELs or trouble codes, and then it's going to come up to the option marry. Now once we get here, we need to marry the device to the JL, so we're going to hold down on that left arrow, and we're going to select with the cruise control on and off. That's going to be our select, and cancel is going to be our flip through or going through the menu itself, but we always need to be holding down the left arrow. So once I selected that, it's going to take a couple of seconds. It's going to marry the device. Basically what it's doing here is downloading all of the stock settings. So when we unmarry the device, if you ever choose to do so in the future, it will return everything back to stock. So after the device is married to the Jeep, what we can do is go through all of our settings. So the first option that you saw before we married the device to the JL is light show. Now this is not necessarily a setting, but this will allow multiple different functions for a light show. So for if you are going out to a car show or a Jeep show and you want your lights to flash in a different order as far as the headlights, fog lights, and running lights are concerned for a little show, for a little extra razzle dazzle, this is what this setting is used for. Now again, in order to switch, what we're going to do is hold down on that left arrow and hit cancel. Now our next option here is display trouble codes. Obviously we do not have a check engine light, so it's going to display as 0. However, if you did have a trouble code, you could view it here. And the next one is clear CL. So if you did have a trouble code, you will be able to clear it here. This is not necessarily a setting, but this will clear a check engine light and a diagnostic code stored in the PCM, the TCM, ABS, and all-wheel drive modules. This is going to come up with the setting as unmarry. We are not looking to unmarry the device, so we can skip over this. And then this is going to bring us into our sub-menu. So after we got through those smaller settings, we can go into the sub-menus. This is going to be our performance setting. So in order to select this and go through our sub-menu, we can hold down on the left arrow and hit the on-off button for the cruise control. Now our first option is going to be tires. Now this is set up to all of the stock parameters. However, this can be changed. So this setting is used for calibration of tire size. You can use the left arrow and the cruise control button in order to go through and change that. On to the next one. This is gear ratio. This is very similar to the tire size. However, this is for your axle gear ratio, and this can be calibrated here as well using the buttons on the steering wheel. Our next option is our 4-wheel low gear ratio. You can change the transfer case gear ratio as well using the left arrow and the cruise control. And then our next option or sub-menu is our TPMS options. Selecting the sub-menu here. TPMS sensors, yes, these are installed. However, you can toggle this off if you don't have TPMS sensors. So if you want that light to go off on the cluster, if you don't have them, you can toggle this off by using your steering wheel controls. And then the next couple of options are going to show you your PSI for both, or for all of your tires. So all of your air is going to be displayed for all 4 corners. Our next submenu is radio, so we can go into this. So our first option here is set backup camera. This is camera enabled. We have a factory backup camera, so it is selected yes. However, if it is deleted at any time, you can disable it here. Our next option is cargo cam. This will enable the cargo cam selector on the control screen. It's useful for front cameras, so if you have a winch mounted camera, you can enable it here. Our next option is set DVD or CD. This setting adds a CD input on the radio, and this is for use with an aux input, particularly useful if you're adding a media player or a DVD player. Ours is disabled as no. Then our next option is set travel link. Now this setting adds the ability to disable SiriusXM travel link, which turns off the weather pop-ups and also disables the traffic information. Now next submenu is lighting. We can select this. Now our daytime running light type is USA. This is going to have our daytime running lights on, but they are selectable. Now there's also an option for Canada that keeps them on all the time or off all the time. Now our first option in the submenu for lighting is DRL type. Now obviously we have USA because we are in the USA. However, this is going to keep our daytime running lights on, but they are selectable. However, there is an option for off, which will keep them off, or there's also an option for Canada parameters, and that would keep them on all the time. Our next option is DRL location. So this chooses which lights you're going to use as a daytime running light. So you can use this really wherever you'd like. The dedicated DRL for turn signals, fog lights, high beams, low beams, wherever you want to have your daytime running light, you can select that in this menu here. Now, DRL dropout is our next setting, and this setting is enabled by default. As you can see, it says yes here. This is going to turn off the daytime running light when you're using a turn signal. So if you prefer the look of the turn signal with no daytime running light, this is going to be the menu where you can change that. Next is our fog lights. If you have factory fog lights or if they're added, this setting will enable them. Next is our fog light drop. This setting is going to allow the fog lights to turn off when the high beams are in use, or turning this off will keep the fog lights on when the high beams are on as well. Our next option is halo enable. This setting is to disable or enable the factory halos. Next option is the LED headlights. This setting is to configure vehicles for LED headlights. Same with LED fogs, and the same with LED taillights. And our last one is the LED front turn signal. This is all going to be the same. Essentially what all these LEDs are going to, or LED settings are going to do, is prevent any hyper flashing. So if you have a halogen bulb from the factory and you put an LED in and it's causing hyper flashing, this will allow you to get rid of the hyper flashing, considering that this will now recognize the LED in the PCM. Our next option is trailer tow. I have this set up as no because we do not have the trailer tow package. However, if we were to add it, we could configure it and enable it here. Now, our next option, or our next sub-menu, is off-road, so we're going to select this. So sway bar is no. So if this is the setting where if the electronic sway bar has been removed, you can use this setting to delete the warnings. Now you can also use this feature to be able to drive with the sway bar disconnected at any speed or at four-wheel drive range. You can just simply switch to four-wheel drive, press the button to disconnect the sway bar, and once it's disconnected, enter the settings in this menu here and set the sway bar to off, and it'll remain disconnected until you set it on again. Our next option is EP steer. This setting is used if you deleted the factory electronic steering pump for a hydraulic pump. Our next option is the locker option. We do not have a factory locker in our Sahara here, so it's selected as none. This setting is used if you've deleted the factory axle lockers. You can delete the front only or both. Now, if the front locker is deleted and the front axle disconnect is deleted as well, this needs to be disabled as well. Our next sub-menu is other. We can select this. Our first option is set aux. This setting is to configure a vehicle for the aux button package. Next option is set blind spot. The setting is to configure the vehicle for blind spot detection package. Next is the seatbelt ding. This setting is to delete the seatbelt chime. The reminder icon will stay on the dash. However, it will get rid of the chime itself. Our next option is Park Sense. Now this setting is to change or disable the Park Sense system, and the choices are none, Sahara, Rubicon, export rear, and export front and rear. Our next option is set splash. Now this is the splash screen, and whatever display is going to pop up whenever you activate your ignition or whenever you turn on your vehicle. You can choose the cluster splash screen between Sport, Sahara, and Rubicon. Next option is the panic button. Now with this setting, you can choose whether the panic button on the key fob will be enabled or not. This needs to remain enabled for the Taser JL hood alarm feature to function. So I would just keep that in mind if you are going to disable this. Our next option is just the firmware. This is the most updated version. You can view the most updated version here and keep up to date with that. And then our next choice is for a full reboot. So if you have changed any settings in the display itself, you will need to go back and do a full reboot here, go through a sleep cycle, and then the features that you just changed will be married to the vehicle. So once we're back at the top here, this is going to complete the non-live functions, menus, and submenus. Now, if you were to turn the vehicle on and do that all over again, you will be able to access the live function options, which will include cool down mode, winch mode, hood alarm, line lock, rock control, and full control for your ABS systems, and everything in there that you can change. That will be a live feature with the device plugged in. Now, I only wanted to show you a couple couple of different features. However, the features on this and the options on here are endless, so you kind of have to go back and customize it to how you want this set up. Like I said, it's going to take you a little bit more than 15 minutes to set this up to your application. However, overall, that is going to do it for the features. So that is going to wrap it up for my review and install. Make sure you like and subscribe for more videos and products just like this, and always keep it right here at extremeterrain.com.